this is Aaron at Power Popaholic, and I am talking with the one, the only David Bash from the International Pop Overthrow. And, he is an inspiration to me, and I wanted to ask him some questions because, we've just finished the New York IPO, and we had a wonderful time there. And I wanted to ask David, how are you doing today, David?
I'm doing fine, Aaron. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. One of the things I wanted to ask is the festival's name. It pays tribute to Jim Ellison from Material Issue. And what was it about that band that, felt like it was the right band or the right name to rally under? And what was the band's reaction to the name?
Well, Material Issue was one of the most iconic power pop bands of the 90s. They had four great albums, three of which were on Mercury Records, and the other on Ryko Disc. So, I thought they represented the festival well, with their ethos. But the main reason was because tragically, their lead singer, Jim Ellison, took his own life not long before I decided to do the festival. So I wanted to pay tribute to him, such a dynamic performer. I got to see Material Issue. I think it was right at the beginning of 1991, even before the International Pop Overthrow album came out. And he just was such a presence on stage, and the band was really tight. So yeah, I thought it was very fitting. And the band, I didn't really know how they felt, the surviving members of the band felt about it until I brought the festival to Chicago a few years later.
Mm,
And both of those guys, Ted Ansani and Mike Zelenko, had new bands of their own, and they both really wanted to play. They said, "We were so flattered when you named the festival after our album." And yeah, Chicago really, the whole city took very well to it because of that.
great, great. Well, also, you've worked hard to eradicate the myth that International Pop Overthrow is only a power pop festival. You've expanded its parameters, so to speak, to include all different kinds of pop and rock music. What specific sounds or subgenres have excited you the most in recent years?
Well, obviously, power pop will always be first and foremost, but we have at the festival a lot of indie rock, we have garage rock, psychedelic pop, we have singer-songwriters, we have Americana. All these different genres excite me, particularly when bands do them so well. So I'm really glad that people back in the day, there were a lot of bands who would come up to me and say, "Why haven't we been invited to this festival? We're pop. You're called a International Pop Overthrow." And I thought, you're right. You guys should be part of it. And that's when I started to expand the parameters. Uh, not too Probably around 2003 and 4 is when I really got the expansion into motion. And
Right.
since then, we just keep adding a little bit more of variety and flavor to the festival, and it's worked well.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well with the compilations over the years as well. It's sort of, it ebbs and flows with, different kinds of bands that, I would have never expected. And that's part of the joy of listening to the CD is you don't necessarily, it's not that predictable. You don't necessarily know who's always going to be there.
Right.
And related to that, beyond submissions through your website, how do you actively discover new artists? Is there a particular city or scene that consistently surprises you with its, talent?
No, I don't know how many. I don't know if there's any particular city that surprises me. I think they've all kind of measured up to expectations. How we find the bands, well, I have to give most of the credit to my wife, Rena Bardfield.
Mm,
She tirelessly searches for bands online, usually via Bandcamp, sometimes Facebook, Spotify, other streaming platforms. But Bandcamp has been the best, and she knows my taste 100%. So
Right.
she'll search for bands, she'll play them for me, and I'll decide, which ones I'd like to have at the festival. And she has some input into the decision making also, but she has way more patience than I do to go through and separate the wheat from the chaff. But yeah, we have to do most of the work these days. Early on with IPO, bands would there wasn't any social media. Many bands didn't even have websites yet.
Right.
So that I would just get tons and tons and tons of CD submissions.
Oh, gee.
Um, and they had to reach out to me. But these days, a lot of bands figure, well, we're on social media, people will find us. Um, Not so, because there's so many more bands now. With
Yeah.
all the technology uh, that's occurred over the years, not to mention the social media, um, bands just keep coming out of the woodwork, and which is great for us
Yeah.
because there's just more quality out there. So yeah, but so we really have to do our due diligence, and thank God for my wife. What can I tell you?
No, no, she does a great job. Obviously, I've seen countless bands that surprise me. There's, always something there that I can attach myself to when it comes to the festival. With the festival in its third decade, you've been honored with a brick at the Cavern Club's Wall of Fame. And what are you most proud of? Is it a specific band you helped, break, or is it music that you brought to the community, or the community itself that you've built over the years?
I think I'm most proud of. Well, I can't say that we've ever broken anybody to the big time. I mean, we had Karis Flowers the first 3 years of IPO LA.
Mm,
They morphed into Maroon 5,
right,
but I wish I could take credit for their success, but not at all. They
right.
just in fact, Karis Flowers were pretty well known in LA when they played. They were already on a major label. Um, but no, so yeah, I mean the communities we've built for sure. But I think I'm most proud of having brought so many bands to the people over the years. That's why I got the brick on the Cavern Wall of Fame.
Mhm.
We had done our 20th year in 2024, and the director, John Keats, said to me, you've brought us over 2,000 bands
Wow.
over the 20 years we've done this, and we want to honor you, and we're going to give you a brick on the Wall of Fame. And that's probably the best honor I'm ever going to get in my life. I'm the only non-musician, non-DJ in the entire world to have a brick.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's even going to change. They say the wall is for musicians and for our DJs. But not only did they give me a brick, but they gave me a really great spot right to the left of the door of the Cavern Pub, which is across the street from the Cavern Club. That's where the wall is. And yeah, to be on the same wall with the Beatles and Oasis and the Stones and all these bands that have have become iconic.
Wow.
It's an honor that I don't think will ever be topped.
Wow. Well, I'm certainly appreciative for all the work you've done with IPO and with spreading power pop genre over the years. I mean, you've been an inspiration to me. I started my fest based on your IPO and tried to do it for about 5 years in Brooklyn before, COVID hit, and then that went by the wayside for me. But you've carried on and
Yeah.
you've persisted, and good for you for that. What would you say to a new person, either a young person or an old person, who is curious about International Pop Overthrow but hasn't attended? And what would you tell them?
Well, to an older person, I say, the music that we all grew up with, that melodic music that we loved as kids, that many of you lament, isn't around anymore. Well, guess what? It is. You just don't know about it because it's not being played on the radio. But there are a lot of these artists out there who are doing music that will remind you of what you listened to as a child. and what I think you would still love if you came to the festival to see these acts. So I would say it's out there, you know, because so many people tell me that when if they hear the compilation or they come to a show they'll that we do, they'll say, I had no idea that anyone was doing this kind of music anymore, because yeah, you're not going to hear it on the radio, forget it.
Yeah,
Um, but it's out there, and these bands are as dedicated to their craft as anybody ever was. It's just now they have to play for a smaller audience, but they're still doing it. They love doing it, and they're creating some great work. To a younger person, you know, it, I would just say, if you're somebody who has an open mind and you appreciate talent, no matter what kind of talent it is,
right.
then come to the festival. You'll see something different, but something you could fall in love with. So yeah, by all means. And we have some younger bands who are playing as well. There aren't a lot of younger bands who are doing melodic pop music, but there are a few. And now that Lemon Twigs have achieved a certain amount of success, other bands are thinking, well, why don't we try that? We love this kind of stuff, and we can do it. So we probably should. So I think you're going to start seeing more and more young bands doing some form of melodic pop music, and hopefully we can discover them before somebody else snarfs them up and it's too late.
Right.
Um,
Awesome. Wow. Well, thank you so much, David Bash. Thank you for your patience and just being you and keeping this festival running all this time. Like I said, you're an inspiration to me and many others, and I look forward to attending IPO every year in New York. And you know, uh, thank you.
well, thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the kind words. It's certainly been a pleasure for me to do this over the last 26 years. You know, I can't imagine doing anything else, and hopefully I never will have to. But
Yes.
thank you for having me on, and thank you to, doing Power Popaholic and reviewing some, really good music, getting that knowledge out to the people, pointing them in the direction of where they can hear it and purchase it. Uh, you're doing a you're doing a mitzvah as well.
Thank you, David. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. And I'll see you at the next IPO.
You bet.
All right. Take care.